Timmy Hernandez, who leads the team in catches, is 53rd of the year.
A nice route by Timmy Hernandez. Just runs the out route on the far sideline. And again, we talked about Jake Luton's arm strength. This is a far hash throw to Timmy Hernandez. One of 3 receivers now over 50 catches. That's 53 on the year for him.
And throwing again after a gain of 13. At midfield, shot backwards after the catch is made. Isaiah Hodgins. He leads the team in receiving yards. Thomas Graham was right with him. So they come out throwing on the first 2 plays.
Yeah, when Oregon State has the football, we talked about Jamar Jefferson in the open. Great freshman running back. Also Isaiah Hodgins, that catch right there, a big receiver for Oregon State. And on the Oregon defense, Troy Dye all over the place making tackles, and also Ugo Amadi in the secondary.
And Jefferson's first carry after a gain of 12 on the previous pass play. Blake Brandel with a nice block to get him inside the 45 of the Ducks. You know, we've had in this series high scores in recent years. At least one team has scored 30 points in the last 16 meetings between the Ducks and the Beavers. And a fast start so far for Oregon State. Need 2 for a first down. Jefferson with a hole, and he's got it. Troy Dye, over 100 tackles. Back-to-back seasons making the play.
Yeah, expect a heavy dose of Jamar Jefferson today. This Oregon defense has been up and down against the run for the better part of the year, and they're banged up front. We have to note 97 Jalen Jelks, one of their best players in their front 7, is out today. They've had injuries over the course of the year up front. Their best game was last week against Arizona State. Did a really nice job against Eno Benjamin, but some of these injuries are mounting up.
Artavis Price, in for Jefferson, splits out as a receiver to the top of your screen. Here's a little trickery here. And it looks like Hernandez wanted to throw it and will to get rid of it.
We saw a little bit of it last week against Washington, and we're seeing a little bit today already. We expect some trickery.
Second down.
You watch here, Jake Luton will throw it out to Timmy Hernandez for the double pass. Does a good job just getting it away, not turning into a bad play, making it worse. Certainly expect more of that today, Chris, and some trickery in this rivalry game with a team that really has nothing to lose.
Yeah, we'll show you some of those, what Oregon State has pulled off. There it didn't work, but that's a completion down to the 32-yard line of Oregon as Bradford with the reception. Yeah, we've seen from Oregon State this year everything from drop kicks, fake punts, a player lying in the end zone, jumping up and returning a kick. Whatever it takes, according to Jonathan Smith. Luton's pass deflected at the line of scrimmage. It looked like Drayton Carlberg, the junior from Minneapolis, got his arms up.
Yeah, I think one of the things that this Oregon defense and Jim Leavitt, the matchup they like is being able to get in there and be disruptive with Jake Luton. This Oregon State offensive line has allowed 46 sacks on the year. They're the bottom of the FBS at 129. They've had issues. They've done well in the run game, but they've had issues protecting consistently in the pass game.
Price is in at running back on a 4th down and 5. Passing up a long field goal try and almost intercepted, doesn't matter. Timmy Hernandez was the target and it went through the hands of Lenore. And on that quick drive that stalls, the Ducks will take over on downs.
Yeah, the Beavers clearly coming out to play aggressive. Obviously with that 4th down attempt there. And also the trick play right before that. But here you're going to see Jake Luton try to get the ball out of his hands quickly. Just kind of stops on the route. Looks like he stumbles a little bit as well. And that ball's almost picked off.
Yeah, and Jordan Shukar, their place kicker for Oregon State, has not hit from over 50 as long as the season 47. So the kick would have been up in that range. Thus, the Beavers passing and going on 4th and 5, and the Ducks defense holds. Travis Dye, the freshman running back, and he gets the carry. And Dye gets up across the 45-49-yard line and into Oregon State territory.
A really nice run by Travis Dye. His role has grown over the last few weeks. He's got a couple 100-yard games on the season. C.J. Verdell, the true freshman, has really been the one that makes this offense go from a running standpoint, but he's had a couple big games as of late.
Gain of 17. It's Dye again on a quick snap. Gets down to the 40. And if you know Mario Cristobal, even with a quarterback like Justin Herbert, his background is in running the football.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the philosophy offensively for this team is run first, and it starts with those guys up front. A dominant offensive line when they're healthy. They've had some injury issues over the course of the year.
Gain of 10 after a gain of 17. And Dye again. Excellent blocking. Down to the 30-yard line and inside the 30 of Oregon State.
And Chris, to your point about running the football, this Oregon State defense has allowed about 272 yards a game. Last in the Pac-12 and defending the run. And it starts at the line of scrimmage. I mean, consistently not being able to get off blocks on a regular basis and giving guys chances to get up to the second level.
He picked up 9 and Dye with a first down. Talk about a workload. I wonder if they said, well, they got the Jefferson on the other side. That freshman getting a lot of attention. We have a freshman who can do his thing as well, because Dye just came out here and took the ball from one end of the field to the other. Fresh set of downs for the Ducks. C.J. Verdell comes in. Redshirt freshman on the carry. Gets down to the 21-yard line of Oregon State. Mentioned before, Justin Herbert, the junior from Sheldon High School in Oregon, who comes in with a touchdown in every game he's played. This is 27th start. And here to throw with plenty of time to Verdell. And Verdell is into the end zone for a Ducks touchdown. Brandon Schooler threw a nice block to clear the way on a flip from Herbert to Verdell on a 21-yard score.
C.J. Verdell has done such a nice job being an all-purpose back for them over the course of the year. Over 250 yards receiving on the year, over 1,000 all-purpose yards, gets a really nice block on the perimeter from Brendan Schooler and takes it in for the touchdown.
So the combination of Travis Dye, the freshman, running, and then Verdell with a carry and then a catch. The freshman taking it into the end zone, and the extra point gives the Ducks a 7-0 lead. They pound away on the ground, and then Herbert's toss produces 6, and it's 7-0.
Talking to Jonathan Smith about that too. He said, look, we'll settle in second or third quarter a lot of times on defense, but we just dig ourselves such a hole. And he said it's almost like our guys finally believe later in the game that they can get the job done. So he said it's trying to get that belief in these guys from the time the ball is kicked, and they just haven't found that recipe so far this year.
Champ Fleming, a yard deep, decides to down it. And the Beavers will come out as they did on the opening kick. They worked it downfield with some crisp tosses from Jake Luton, and then ran a little bit with Jamar Jefferson, but it slowed when they got inside the 40 of the Ducks.
Yeah, I think it's the tempo, Chris, that I don't know if we expected early on from this offense. Obviously, with their ability to run the football, we know what Oregon can do offensively when they're at their best. So it seems like it makes the most sense for Oregon State to try to slow this game down a little bit, take some possessions away from the Oregon Ducks, and get a steady dose of Jamar Jefferson.
Beavers have used 3 different starting quarterbacks this year, much of that because of injury. Wide open and sliding at the 34 is Hernandez, and he'll be just short of a first down. Well, it would appear early that Jonathan Smith, Evan, is trying to open up the running pass for Jefferson by throwing the ball early. Gain of 9. Jefferson remains the back and knocked down right away. He may lose a yard or two. Coming in with a big defensive play, Samson New, the sophomore from San Diego.
Yeah, you watch Samson New on the right side of your screen come in untouched off the backside, and inside zone like that, someone's got to account for the backside of that run. That play is going to be made in the backfield every single time.
Artavis Pierce is in for Jefferson at running back. They need 3 after that loss. Here on third down, extra pressure picked up and batted at the line of scrimmage for the second time today. Luton has been deflected. And Lamar Winston from Central Catholic High School in Portland got his hands up on that one.
And we talked about the Oregon State's inability to consistently protect the passer. Been better against the run. You got to think today Jamar Jefferson could be able to, or should be.
Yards in less than 2 minutes. And Travis Dye starts in the backfield. It's a handoff. And Dye gets across the 36-yard line. Shamar Smith From Miami, Florida, the junior making the tackle. Boy, that's about as far away as you can get from this part, unless you're up in Seattle, Washington, or Canada. A long way to go to play college football, but enjoying this rivalry with Oregon State. And again, this time, that was maybe one of the better defensive efforts as Caleb Hayes was a part of that tackle there, and it's going to bring up a third down. Stop short of the 40.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, Oregon has been so efficient in their downfield passing game for the better part of the year, because right now this game is being played on their terms. They want to establish the run, and they love to take those play action shots off of that run. It's been what they've been so good at, especially with Dillon Mitchell.
And how will they guard Dillon Mitchell? The junior wears 13. There's a pass right at the 45, and a crisp throw between a couple of defenders. Jacob Breeland, the tight end, making the first down catch.
You know, to your point, Chris, I actually have not seen Dillon Mitchell on the field the last couple drives. I mean, I'm now looking for him on the sideline to try to locate him, but this is their premier receiver, and I've yet to see him out there.
Herbert with plenty of time for the sideline and just overthrowing Johnny Johnson. Sean Wilson, though, with the excellent coverage. Well, Herbert, we mentioned 6'6" and 237 pounds. When you think back, 2016's a true freshman started 7 games. That was in the Mark Helfrich regime. The Ducks went 2-6. He had 19 touchdown passes. Last year, missed 5 games with a fractured collarbone. 6-2 with him, and without him 1-4. And this year, every game, as the pass completed to Jalen Red, who goes out of bounds. A string of touchdown passes, completing just over 59% of his throws.
Yeah, I think one of the positive things this year is his ability to stay healthy. I think he's learned also, when he gets out on the perimeter using his legs, to be smart. He's a big guy. He likes to take people on. He's not afraid of contact, but it's gotten him hurt a couple times over the last couple years.
And he's going to get thrown down at the 47. Isaac Hodgins, the freshman. Herbert hesitated, and they gave him a chance. Hodgins got him and threw him to the turf.
And this offensive line for Oregon has done a really nice job over the course of the year holding up. But Isaac Hodgins is able to find a way and get through for their 14th sack of the year. This is a team that's only generated 13 sacks on the year coming into this game. It's been a weakness for them. But being able to get in there and disrupt Herbert's timing will be a big positive for them today if they can continue to do that.
And a loss of 9. Pass is thrown again to Johnson, and he'll go nowhere. Some excellent and inspired defense by the Beavers. Jalen Moore, who leads the team in tackles, and Jaden Grant came up to make the play.
Yeah, Jalen Moore, one of the leaders in the secondary. Very physical presence back there. You never like when your safety's leading you in tackling. Obviously, it means a lot of stuff is getting into the secondary, especially in the run game. Been a really good player for them over the year, though.
Need to get all the way to the 32 of Oregon State on 3rd down. Herbert, delayed pressure, and catchmate slips out of a tackle. Still not down. Fighting on the sideline is Travis Dye, but it will be 4th down. And Hodgins got in there to wrap him up initially.
Yeah, Isaac Hodgins was there to make a play right when the ball was caught. He's not able to corral them, but
we're going to have to check on Dillon Mitchell because he is on the sideline. We just haven't seen him thrown to, and I wonder if that's by design. Blake Mimon back to punt. Standing at the 42. Javon Bradford. And at the 8-yard line, it's Hernandez, who's tackled right away by Thomas Grant, sophomore from Rancho Cucamonga.
Yeah, the matchup with these Oregon State receivers against this Oregon secondary is something to keep an eye on. This Oregon State secondary did a really nice job last week against N'Keal Harry and the Arizona State Sun Devils. A young group, only true sophomores on the outside with Diamador Lenore and Thomas Graham, but it's a good matchup today. These Oregon State receivers are talented. Like we mentioned earlier, 3 guys over 50 catches.
Hernandez, Hodgins, Bradford. And Crowell will be short of the 1st down. Jordan Scott making the tackle
Yeah, you saw there with Jordan Scott, his ability to hold the point as a nose tackle. Having a run-stopping defense, the guy at the point, number 34, that nose tackle is so critical. It's a big man right there, 6'1", 330. And if you're going to run the ball against this team, you have to consistently move him if you're going to run between the guards.
Yeah, he's building a
Not an easy thing to do.
329 pounds or so. Sharp-looking jerseys. Luton with time underneath, and first down. Falling forward is Bradford. Luton scanned the field and found his target for the first down.
Yeah, just a shallow cross rub route between two receivers. And Trevon Bradford, I think he's surprised how open he is. Finds himself off balance. I think he was going to sit down and catch the ball in zone. He ends up kind of losing his balance a little bit. Had he kept his feet, it had some yards there after the catch.
Jamar Jefferson comes back in at running back. Only 3 carries so far. But Luton digs him out of a hole. First down from the 17 of the Beavers. He fakes and throws incomplete. Knocked down right away. He was trying to get the ball to Timmy Hernandez. Lamar Winston put the heat on Luton.
Yeah, these outside backers, these nickel packages for Oregon. Lamar Winston, number 32, and also Justin Hollins, number 11. Really give them the best chance, especially with Jalen Jelks, 97, is out of this game. He will not play today. Also one of their better pass rushers, but it's Lamar Winston and Justin Hollins to give them the best chance to get pressure.
Yeah, I just thought that they would run more as Jefferson carries to Jefferson, who stops short. And Justin Hollins again on the tackle. He's had 11 tackles for loss this season. And an excellent play there. You know, for Luton, he started his college career at Idaho as a redshirt. Went to Ventura College in 2016, JUCO All-American. He had 40 touchdown passes, a football, baseball player, all-state pitcher. Had some injuries since he came here, and that's why he hadn't played a full season, but he can flip it.
Yeah, he can. He showed that in the second half against Colorado. Oregon State fans are well aware of that game. Over 300 yards in the second half.
On 3rd and 8, incomplete across the 30 to Hernandez and Graham covering. Those two have been busy. Would have been a first down had they been able to connect. And the punting unit comes out for Oregon State. But remember, just because we see the punting unit doesn't mean we're always going to see a punt, although this is deep in their own territory.
Yeah, this would be a gamble, to say the least. You're going to pull something from here. But these young corners on Oregon, we mentioned Diamador Lenore, the true sophomore, and Thomas Graham, the true sophomore. They took their licks at times last year, their true freshman year. And both of them have really improved over the course of this year. Might have had their best game last week against the Sun Devils, and doing a nice job today.
Ugo Amadi watches the Rodriguez punt hit out of bounds. The Ducks will have good field position when they take over from their own foreman. Can play anywhere on that offensive line and sets up Verdell with a 17-yard run.
Yeah, nice job by the guard pulling around and creating some space for him. And C.J. Verdell runs so hard. Mario Cristobal mentioned over the course of the week, almost runs too hard.
Too hard in the
sense. If there is such a thing.
and he ran hard there, and meaning that sometimes, right, you can beat yourself up.
Absolutely.
You risk injury by doing that as they go without a huddle here after Verdell carries once again.
He also said sometimes it's at the expense of his vision. He puts his head down and goes, and they love it, but they're just teaching him a little more patience at times.
So it was Dye in the initial series. Herbert to throw after Verdell carried a few times. And open with the hang on, no. It was in the hands of Johnny Johnson at the 21, but he couldn't secure it.
Johnny Johnson doesn't hang on to this ball, but I think, in the absence of Dylan Mitchell, one thing to mention too is that some frustration in Eugene with this offense when it falls flat, like in the second half last week against Arizona State. They don't always have other receivers step up and make plays. It's been a point of frustration for this offensive staff. Outside of Dylan Mitchell, they've really not been able to get anyone else going consistently. And that's exactly why right there.
Well, we've got a whistle on 3rd down. Pre-snap. And it looked like Mario Cristobal.
Oregon has called timeout. They're challenging the ruling on the field of an incomplete pass. This play is now under replay review.
All right, so help us out. You automatically review anyway, and it was ruled an incomplete pass and is challenged by the coach. And usually when they have the review, Evan, it's simply to confirm what's called on the field. And there didn't look like there was much doubt in your mind, but in Coach Cristobal's view, he saw it different.
Yeah, at first glance, it looked like it was no question an incomplete pass, but from his angle, he may have seen something differently. And on this replay, you know, the question becomes, did he make a football move, possess the football, and are they trying to say that was a fumble?
And he got it back. That 2 hands, second foot, and then some type of movement.
And your point, this would have to be conclusive, obviously, irrefutable to overturn what was called on the field. Because Mario Cristobal saw his own, Johnny Johnson recover that football, and he's trying to get the ball right there. But I have a hard time believing they're going to say that's a completed pass.
Jonathan Smith on the other sideline viewing this and hoping the initial ruling stands.
There's his first step there. Looks like the ball's already coming out.
Ruling on the field of an incomplete pass is confirmed. It's still down. Oregon's charged a timeout, and Oregon loses its ability to challenge any further plays.
Our referee, Mark Duddy, with a clear explanation, and I think they got it right from the start.
I don't always get explanations that are that thorough. That was pretty good.
Well, I'm telling you, the Dylan Mitchell story is one that, and we checked with the sports information department from up here with the Ducks, and they didn't have any inside word on as to why Mitchell is not playing. But now a 3rd and 4 after that challenge falls flat for Dell in the backfield. And he gets it straight ahead. First down, knocked down at the 25-yard line, or he might still be running all the way to Eugene.
Well, think about C.J. Verdell comes back in the pistol formation, which is something that Oregon uses quite a bit, and it gives them that downhill running game while being able to integrate some spread concepts as well. You still get that mesh point in the pistol, but you also get the downhill flow of the running back.
Quick snap after they pick up 8. It's Verdell again. Travis Dye, 6 carries in the game for over 45 yards. Now that's his 5th carry for Verdell.
But the reason the Dylan Mitchell thing is such a big deal, and we're talking about a guy that has 68 catches on the year. The next guy is Jalen Redd with 28.
And moving in on some career marks. Breaking through is Verdell to the goal line and stopped right at the goal line. He emerged as Oregon's leading rusher and top backfield receiver. Not last week, though, as Travis Dye was over 100. Has 4 100-yard rushing games and a chance to punch it in. Verdell straight ahead. Touchdown! So he has a touchdown catch to go with a touchdown run. That's now 9 touchdowns this season, running receiving for the redshirt freshman C.J. Verdell.
Yeah, we talked earlier about the role that Travis Dye has in this offense as well, but C.J. Verdell is really the train that makes this thing work for the Oregon offense. Mario Cristobal, very much a run-first guy.
Ruling on the field is a touchdown. The previous play is now under replay review.
So upstairs taking a closer look to confirm the ruling and see what you can see.
Probably going to be difficult to tell from that angle where exactly the football is.
I didn't see anything there that would deny him the chance. Looks like he's not down at all. And the ball, well, from that, unless we have an exact.
Calvin Throckmorton and covering up that angle might be your MVP on that one, because if we don't have enough, they're just going to let it stand. Calvin Throckmorton, a guy that's played nearly every position on the offensive line this year, so versatile.
After review, the ruling on the field of a touchdown stands. Touchdown.
So there wasn't enough.
Yeah, notice stands not confirmed.
But I'm curious as to why they initially called it a touchdown, because it looked debatable. But it doesn't matter, because now with the extra point, the Ducks will take a 14-point lead. Adam Stack is on to try the extra point. He has been perfect 29 out of 29, including one earlier today. And he works it through. Well, they're not just in-state rivals. They're close In fact, the mileage distance about, oh, there it is, 42 miles. And you see the amount of players from the great state of Oregon in this game, just over 50. And the Platypus Trophy, something that we'll talk about a little bit later. They don't talk a lot about that, but you know, has the duck bill and the beaver tail, and so it's something that's carved out of wood, and it was missing for a while. You know, there's a lot of different schools, rivalries through the years that have different things that they play for, but it's bragging rights. And as the coaches told them, hey, they talk about it for a year, whether you go to the store or the coffee shop, it's that important.
Absolutely. And you talk about the Platypus Trophy as well. That's one that is probably one of the more unique trophies they give out to the winner of this rivalry game relative to other ones around the country.
And most programs and rivalries in-state and cross-state have something that they battle for. The Apple Cup, which you'll see later on Fox, Washington State. Zach Emerson. This time wants the return, and it is Fleming. And excellent special teams work as he fights hard. It looked like he was down inside the 20. Works his way all the way up to the 29-yard line.
Going to work with this kid. It's even more amazing, a true freshman, and the durability he's displayed over the course of the year. Had a hamstring injury early on, but that's about it for the better part of the year.
And gets a first down across the 40 after that 9-yard run was his longest run of this game, and a flag down. Haven't had a penalty yet in this game.
Personal foul, face mask, defense, number 35. 15-yard penalty from the end of the play. Automatic first down.
The call is on Troy Dye. And that'll advance the ball after the first down run to the 44 of Oregon.
Yeah, Chris, this is a critical drive for Oregon State. Obviously being down 14-0. Not letting this thing get out of hand early like it did last week against the University of Washington. Critical they respond here and move this ball down the field.
Jefferson on the carry is down about. Yeah, you were talking about he came in with 218 carries. That was the most for Oregon State since Jaquiz Rogers had 256 back in 2010. And they aren't just carry; they're productive carry.
Well, and so often these freshmen come in early in the spring and get spring ball with their team. He did not. He did not get spring ball with him. He didn't really join the team until fall camp. And to have this kind of year as a true freshman, future's bright at that position for the Beavers.
Best field position as Luke is thrown, and there should be a flag, and there is. There's the pushing and shoving going on. Trevon Bradford was the target, and Amadi was all over.
Yeah, I think Ugo Amadi had looked back, and there was some hand fighting going on. I think he just held on just a bit too long. Does a good job looking back for the football. You'll always get the benefit of the doubt.
Pass interference, defense, number 7. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Does a nice job looking back for the ball. He's just got to let go just a second sooner and go up and make a play on the football. By holding on, he inhibits Trevon Bradford's ability to go up and make a play. Going to get a flag every time.
Yeah, the last 3 plays, 30 yards and penalties. We had been penalty-free, but 2 against the Ducks. And the Beavs are at the 27-yard line, trailing 14-0 as the first quarter has just 44 seconds remaining. Jefferson is the back. And he gets the football. It's inside the 25-yard line. Jefferson, his 7th 100-yard game of the season, came against Washington, one of the better defenses. That was that terrific signature win for the Ducks. Excuse me, for the Ducks beat Washington earlier in the year, but for Oregon State, a signature performance for Jermar Jefferson, having over 100 yards against that defense.
Oh yeah, and we're talking. You go back to ASU, had 254 yards in that game, and then earlier in the year, 238 yards against Southern Utah. So those kind of rushing totals for a freshman, for anyone really, especially for a freshman, outstanding.
A 122nd meeting in the Civil War here at Corvallis, Oregon. The Ducks, with Riddell, a couple of touchdowns, have a 14-0 lead after one tackle. So they came out throwing, but since Oregon State has settled down and run the football, this has given them their best opportunity with the aid of some penalties against the Ducks. Already gambled once in this game on 4th and 5 and failed. They've been a very good fourth down team. They've had to do it a lot playing catch-up as they are here today. Luton, and incomplete. A chance for an interception there by Ugo Amadi, who has 3 this year.
He's trying to find Trevon Bradford on the corner route. Looked like he expected him to change his angle a little bit and flatten that out. Trevon Bradford ends up taking a higher angle towards the back of the end zone. Just a miscommunication there between a quarterback and receiver, and almost costed him 6 points.
Amadi, the senior, having his best year. Missing an opportunity is Jordan Schuker to try the field goal of 40 yards. Kick is not good. He made 3 of 4 last week at Washington, including a 47-yarder, but misses this one as first-year head coach Jonathan Smith shrugs in disappointment. Ducks with the lead now take over. Justin Herbert 5 out of 7 without going to his leading receiver in Dylan Mitchell, who's still suited up but on the sideline. And looks like he's coming in finally, and he is. Dylan Mitchell, the junior, with 6 100-yard receiving games. Wearing number 13, 9 touchdowns, 36 yards away. The school record in terms of yardage as Dye carries.
Yeah, it's good to see Dylan Mitchell back in the football game. Typically, when you see a guy miss the first quarter like that, quite honestly, you kind of think that sometimes it's a disciplinary thing, but got no word of that. You saw him talking to the trainers a little bit on the sideline, and it remains to be discovered exactly what played out there to hold him out in the first quarter.
Herbert keeps straight ahead, first down to the 42-yard line. Jake Hansen, the center, through a nice block after the Herbert fake. A 13-yard run.
Yeah, Marcus Arroyo is the offensive coordinator for Oregon, is always quick to say that you're not going to see many design runs for Herbert. We want to protect him. We don't want to see him taking a lot of hits. And if he keeps it, shouldn't really take a lot of hits as well. It should be a read where it protects him after he has the football.
A tough hit. Alani Vakamalelo on Travis Dye, the senior from Hawaii. And he'll lose a yard on that play as they line up at just inside the 41 of Oregon. Five different receivers called in a pass from Justin Herbert today. We're going to have a timeout by Oregon.
Timeout. Oregon, their second of the half. This will be a full timeout.
Ducks are on the move with a 14-0 lead. And Herbert with time to throw. Downfield. Knocked away. And here comes a flag. He's trying to get the ball to Brendan Schooler, and Isaiah Dunn may have been guilty of the penalty.
Pass interference. Defense number 23. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Yeah, the corner Isaiah Dunn looks back, but again, the contact comes a little too early. But Brendan Schooler does a nice job there on the play action, getting behind the safety, and I think it was a route adjustment. He threw his hand up in the air as if to signal to Herbert, hey, I'm taking this thing deep. And Herbert, I think, let it go just a tad late because Brendan Schooler has to turn around and fight for the ball. They're fortunate to come up with a PI penalty on that one.
As Dye carries, Travis Dye to the 40. I don't think that's maybe why it looked like a bit of an underthrow. We know that Herbert's got the big arm. I
think Justin Herbert saw Brendan Schooler throw his hand up in the air and decided at the last second he was going to take a shot on it, but Schooler was already so far down the field, he ended up having to come back to the football.
Schooler, the junior from Dana Point, California, Mission Viejo High School. Herbert fakes, fires, and tipped. Still caught at the 25-yard line by Jacob Breeland. And Breeland battling inside the 10. And that ball was deflected by Oregon State.
Yeah, really well-designed play. They're going to fake the tunnel screen out on the outside. And Jacob Breeland, who looked like he was going to block, ends up shooting up the field wide open. Fortunately for Oregon State, that ball was tipped, so it slows him down. If that ball's not tipped, he probably scores a touchdown there. Well-designed play by Marcus Arroyo.
Travis Dye through the hole, knocked down at the 1-yard line. Ball comes out at the end. Whistle had blown.
The ruling on the field is that the runner was down. Second down.
And those guys on Oregon State's defensive line seem to think that that ball was out before he hit the ground. You see Elu Aiden pointing the other way.
Close.
Looks like he was down. Yeah, he was definitely down.
Right elbow, forearm, any part of that touching, and ruled down.
The ruling on the field was that the runner was down. This play is now under replay review.
They're going to take a closer look. Just to be sure.
Those Beavers defensive linemen seem pretty certain that that ball came out, but I think after a second look here, they're going to see pretty quickly. I don't think it's moving there. I think he's still secured at that point as well, and he's down right there. So there's no question that ball is going to stay with the Ducks.
Doug Domelau was the one who caused it.
After review, the ruling of the field of the runner being down has been confirmed. Second down.
Well, that didn't take too long, did it, Chris?
No, I think they got it right initially, but it's a fast way to make sure because.
Hey, I'm all for quick replays. You know, if we have to stop the game to take a look at something, that's fine. But all too often, the flow of a game is really interrupted by extra replay. So the quicker we can get it done for all sports, really, the better.
And the idea that it's a change of possession, it's such a key moment when a team is threatening to score. You want to get it right, and they did. Verdell now the back, where he has 2 touchdowns today. Verdell, 3 touchdowns today. And a 20-0 advantage as tight end Ryan Bay helped with a block there.
Anytime this Oregon team lines up in their tight formation with this offensive line, running behind the left guard Shane Lemieux and the left tackle Calvin Throckmorton, they feel good about it. This group, really talented, has had some injury issues over the course of the year, but when they're healthy, they're really tough to stop. Obviously still missing their left tackle, the true freshman Panay Sewell. Calvin Throckmorton has filled in nicely for him. Really good group.
And the extra point to make it 21-0. A 78-yard drive, just under 3 minutes.
Where you were on that day, Chris?
1994.
I was celebrating my 9th birthday, man.
I was waiting for you to grow up and go to Stanford and then play in the NFL. I think I had
a surprise party for my 9th. I remember it well. I don't know if we had that game on, though.
I was working at the 4-letter network, ESPN back then. Now, of course, Fox FS1. We're glad you're watching college football on FS1. It is from the end zone. And working it out is Flemings. Had a tough return last time. Chad Flemings. All the way out to the 46-yard line of Oregon. The freshman from Pasadena with a 55-yard return.
You see right here the fake pitch. We talked about some trickery that would go on over the course of this game. Now, I wouldn't call this trickery, but it's just enough to get the misdirection from the coverage team for Oregon and give Fleming some running lanes to get down the field for a really, really nice run to start this drive off just past midfield for the Oregon State Beavers.
I remember Mario Cristobal said he had to show his team some of those gadget trick plays, in fact, going back years, so they'd be prepared. And maybe they were thrown off a little bit by just the threat of such a play.
Yeah, all it takes is one guy, not only in the running game defensively, but also in special teams. One guy's eyes to be fixed on that fake handoff right there, or that fake pitch, and to get out of his lane. It creates a nice running lane for Fleming as he makes a big play.
And we have an injured player after Jefferson had carried. And Jefferson so far today, Eldon Check averaging less than 3.5 yards carried. As we check on the injury, let's check in with Greg Wolf for this game break. Greg.
All right, Chris, thank you. Number 9, UCF, nation's longest winning streak at 23 games. Still a long shot chance of the playoff facing South Florida. Mackenzie Milton hits Gabriel Davis, 14-yard score. And the Knights lead the Bulls 7-0 second quarter. Chris, Evan, back to you.
All right, thanks, Greg. appreciate that. Gus Lavaca, the left guard, is the injured player for Oregon State being tended to.
Yeah, if he's unable to return, that's a big loss for them. I mean, he's been their best puller up front at that left guard position for an offensive line that has had its share of issues over the weeks, and not as good in pass protection, but has been better with the run, and he's been a big part of that.
Yanni Dimo-Joranatis likely to come in, a senior, to help over at that spot if needed. Certainly hope that he's okay.
Yeah, if you talk about what they do in the run game as well to open up things for Jamar Jefferson, full gamut. You'll see inside outside zone, and also that power game that involves that guard pulling around. And you said it, Chris, Yanni Dimo-Joranatis, if he ends up getting in there, he's going to have a big role to fill because Gus Lavaca is an important part of that offensive line.
And you see him heading to the sideline limping. The sun has broken through here at Reser Stadium.
There's our guy.
The Ducks, after that dazzling return of 55 yards, now facing a 2nd and 8. Jake Luton 6 out of 12 for 50 yards. And Artavis Pierce, junior running back from Lake Alfred, Florida, is in. And Bradford has the football inside the 30 and good enough for a first down.
They don't move Trevon Bradford around the formation quite a bit. He's their fastest receiver. To try to get him in some matchup situations. You see him here on the reverse. When he gets out of the perimeter, he's got great speed. Does a good job getting up the field for a big game.
Trevon Bradford from Oregon City, Oregon. And Pierce is back in at running back after he picked up 15. Pierce to the 27-yard line. Lamar Winston making the tackle for the Ducks.
As you watch the Oregon defense, you'll see these corners, Thomas Graham and Diamador Lenore. They're getting up and challenging these receivers on the outside. A lot of single high safety looks. Not much help behind them. And at some point, you'd like to see the Oregon State offense challenge these corners down the field in some one-on-one matchups. You'll see at the bottom of your screen, you got Isaiah Hodgins, a 6'4" receiver that can go up and get the football. And at some point, they're going to have to give him a chance to make a play down the field.
Hodgins' brother on defense has already made a big play with a sack as that is completed. And he juggled it. They're going to say incomplete inside the 20. And Bradford was the target. Probably should have been caught. Javon Holland was there to knock it away.
Yeah, it was a great throw. Looked like it was caught. Javon Holland, I think, gets in there and knocks it down. I think Trevon Bradford might have taken his eyes off that ball at the last second, too, to look up at where the hit was coming from. It was a well-thrown football, though.
Facing a 3rd down. Now their best scoring chance was a missed 40-yard field goal. Beavers would be beyond that if they gain nothing here. Blitz coming, and Luton gets rid of it. Can't slip the tackle. Pierce with the football, but Hollins was there to make sure he didn't get upfield, and now you've got a 4th down.
Yeah, Oregon State suspected man-to-man, and they take that receiver on the right side of the field, Isaiah Hodgins, to bring him across the formation to try to create a natural pick for the running back to get out in the flat. And Justin Hollins just does a nice job of chasing it down and making a play.
Jonathan Smith went for it on 4th and 5 in the opening quarter, failed there. Look at the difference in how much. They've been pretty good on 4th down, 70% compared to where they were in the past. Need to get inside the 20 and open at the 10 to the 5 to the 4 is Isaiah Hodgins.
Now, Chris, that's the matchup you've been waiting for Oregon State to exploit more today. Isaiah Hodgins singled up in the slot, runs a nice corner route, and a really nice throw by Jake Luton. Ugo Amadi is a really good football player, but Isaiah Hodgins is a big guy. If you put that ball in the right spot, it's really difficult for corners to get in there and break that thing up.
A timely 4th down conversion showing how good they've been percentage-wise. Jefferson can't get through the Ducks' initial defensive line up front. And Ugo Amadi helped to clog things up with Gary Baker for Jalen Jelks, who leads all linemen in the Pac-12 with 54 tackles, as you pointed out, is not healthy, not playing today for Oregon.
Yeah, plays a number of different positions for him. They can have him more on the interior of the defensive line as a pass rusher and even as a run stopper at times, and also coming off the edge as a pass rusher. Such a valuable part to this defense they're missing today.
Jack Colletto is in with a toss. That's almost, is it? Yes, it is intercepted. Colletto, as Nick Pickett picked it, Colletto usually is in.
Field is an interception for a touchback. First down, Oregon.
And usually Coletto's in to run the ball. He tried to flip it, and then Adrian Pickett was there.
Yeah, this is a tendency breaker thing. He's typically a Wildcat quarterback. They suspected he would run the football. Oregon State tries to sell that, and he goes with, I guess, the Tim Tebow jump pass is what we call it. We haven't seen that consistently since Tebow's years at Florida. And it gets tipped and picked off.
So the play was over. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Defense number 16. Excessive celebration. Half the distance to the goal. It'll be Oregon's ball, 1st and 10. That's number 16's first unsportsmanlike conduct foul of the game.
Look, if you're Jonathan Smith, you know, that's an unfortunate turn of events there. The ball gets tipped. Guy was open in the end zone. But at the same time, these matchups on the outside, especially in tight red zone, I like what they can do against these corners for Oregon. These corners for Oregon have been opportunistic over the course of the year. They got 3 guys with 3 or more picks. That's really good, but at the same time, Oregon State has some receivers that can make plays on the perimeter, especially in the red zone, and I think you got to give these guys a chance.
And you got the freshman Jefferson, who's got a dozen touchdowns, and I know he's been held in check much of today, but you had a second down play, and you were moving the football for Luton, his 3rd interception of the year, to go with his.
Well,
that was Colletto,
yeah,
excuse me.
yeah.
And Luton has only thrown 2 interceptions to go with his 8 touchdowns. Colletto rarely throws the football. But another takeaway for Oregon, and after the penalty, the excessive celebration on Nick Pickett, it backs him up. But another red zone turnover, red zone mistake by Oregon State.
It'll also be interesting to see how the Oregon State defense responds to this, because stuff like that can kind of take the wind out of your sails as a team. Down 21-0, a chance to score. You think you're going to score, and you get a turnover. See how this team can respond.
Herbert's throw, hauled in. Jalen Red, and goes out of bounds. Herbert, 7 out of 9. He's got 90 yards and a touchdown pass. And he's run twice. But Verdell has been the story with 3 touchdowns for the Ducks. Dylan Mitchell, who's yet to be thrown to, lined up. Dave Morris is on him. And there is Dylan Mitchell, slips a tackle and gets a first down.
Do a nice job getting Justin Herbert out of the pocket. And you'll watch Dylan Mitchell just run the snag route and sit over the alignment of that second receiver. And everything just vacates because the motion of Herbert delivers a nice football.
And Travis Dye almost broke one out to the 34. And Dylan Mitchell, the reason we made such a big deal is that it just took him 10 games to get to 1,000 receiving yards and leading the Pac-12 in that area. As we mentioned, his biggest game was Stanford. He had 14 catches, 239 yards. Both are second best in Ducks history. But only 1 catch today on that 1 target as Dye gets across the 35-yard line. Freshman running backs have been the story today.
Yeah, these 2 guys lead this backfield. C.J. Verdell, the redshirt freshman, and Travis Dye. Coming into the season, Tony Brooks-James is also a guy that got some carries. He hasn't seen quite as much action over the last few weeks. It's been the young guys that have set the tone for an offense that really prefers to run the football early and start to get those explosives as play action and getting Herbert out of the pocket, which we're going to see here at some point, especially with Dylan Mitchell getting down the field.
Facing a 3rd down, straight ahead, and first down for C.J. Verdell. He talked about him running hard, sometimes too hard, which causes injuries. Battled a hip, a neck, a rib injury. And he ran, you know, when he in the first 3 conference games, he had over 100 yards. And Verdell is averaging over 7.5 carry today, nearing the 70-yard mark himself. Herbert to throw. Airing it out down the sideline. And incomplete for Mitchell.
And that's the MO of the Oregon offense right there. They'll take a couple shots on the ground, and the play action ends up sucking up those corners and linebackers and taking a shot to Dillon Mitchell. That's been the recipe for them for the better part of the year. Some would say almost to a fault, as they can tend to become a little bit predictable in getting Dillon Mitchell the ball. With how productive he's been over the course of the year, that's a touchdown right there. If that ball's thrown in bounds and out in front of Dillon Mitchell, that's a touchdown.
Drew Kell on the coverage, the senior. Herbert's throw. Jalen Red knocked down right away at the 44-yard line.
And Chris, Herbert doesn't miss much on throws down the field. I mean, he's got 12 touchdowns on passes that are targeted 20 or more yards down the field. He's tied for first in the conference in that number. This shows how accurate he has been when he takes those shots down the field.
And his 28th touchdown pass of the season earlier in this game. On 3rd and 7 from the Oregon 45. Herbert is sacked for the second time today. Dr. Mulal got to him, and Shamar Smith made sure he didn't get away.
Yeah, Oregon State elects to bring pressure.
Oregon State, their first charge timeout of the half.
Oregon State elects to bring pressure, and Doug Damulo, if you're gonna bring it, you got to get home, because they're playing man-to-man on the back end. Not a whole lot of help, and some guys were starting to come open, but they get home and make a play on Herbert and get him to the ground.
Correction, this is a 30-second timeout.
Well, rivalry week continues tonight on Fox as 16th ranked Washington will take on Washington State, 8:30 Eastern in the Apple Cup. And Washington State, not that much was expected of them, but what a year for Mike Leach, what he's been able to do.
Yeah, picked 5th in the Pac-12 North at the beginning of the season by the media. And now today find themselves in the Pac-12 North Championship game. Should be a lot of fun.
And then tomorrow, one of the most anticipated games of the year always is Michigan, 4th ranked, going up against Ohio State. The Buckeyes, that coverage at 11 Eastern on Fox. You can also watch anywhere on the Fox Sports app. College football continuing through the course of this holiday weekend. Trevon Bradford back to receive Blake Lamone's punt. After the Oregon State timeout, a flag down. Back in the area of Mamone's kick.
Running into the kicker, receiving team number 86.
See if they want to decline or not. That'll be the 5-yard variety.
Yeah, that's not
a first down.
Not enough for the first down. Needed to get to the 48 for a first down.
Question is, does Oregon want to re-kick it and get better field position?
Hard line. It's Isaiah Hodgins with Graham covering. And Evan, you talked about the variety of receivers, and they've spread the ball around. That's Hodgins' 3rd catch. Hernandez has 3.
Yeah, we mentioned, I mean, there are only 1 of 2 teams in the entire country that have 3 players over 50 catches. Isaiah Hodgins being one of them. He's a big body guy, doesn't need a lot of space to make a play. Not great speed, yet really good catching the ball with his hands and using his body to get position on a defender. If you're Jonathan Smith, you have to like that matchup on the outside with Isaiah Hodgins.
And Luke is over 100 yards passing. The run goes nowhere. Austin Fowler making the play on Jefferson. 3rd and 1 and 3rd down. It's been a rough go of that for Oregon State. Just 1 out of 6 on 3rd down tries today against this Ducks defense.
Yeah, outside the fumble, the interception in the red zone on that last trip, that's been the biggest issue, Chris. It's just sustaining drives and staying on the field on 3rd down.
Well, this is 4-down territory. In fact, I guess anywhere on the field is 4-down territory if needed for Oregon State, but they won't have to worry about that. Jefferson to the 15-yard line, Terrific blocking up front. Lavaca back in, and Randall on that left side.
Yeah, they're thankful to have Gus Lavaca still in the game as they run right behind him. And if Diamador Lenore doesn't fold over and make that tackle, Jefferson's off to the races.
A 12-yard pickup, his best run of the day. A mix-up on the handoff. That was almost loose in the backfield as Troy Dye was there when Jefferson just barely got the exchange from Luton. Luton, who suffered the concussion in the season opener at Ohio State, missed 8 games back in 2017, had a spine injury. He was playing up at Washington State. Throwing it today toward the end zone and a little bit long. Hodgins the target, but Graham was covering.
Yeah, Thomas Graham, the corner, does a really nice job on this play. They kind of run a little double move here. It's kind of a slant and go type look. Isaiah Hodgins tries to get up the field, and Thomas Graham does not fall for it and stays in phase all the way down the field, forcing a bad throw. He has something to say to him right there after that, huh? Corners don't like when you try to run double moves on them. And if they can stay with you, they're going to have something to say about it, that's for sure.
You see the field there partially sun breaking through after it rained. It was chilly and damp most of the morning here in Corvallis. And on the blitz, he gets rid of it, but they're ready. Jefferson had nowhere to go. And on a third down play, they lose yardage, and now that may set up a field goal opportunity. Lamar Winston, terrific for the Ducks.
Yeah, trying to set up a screen. You watch on the right side, Blake Brandel, their left tackle, tries to get out and get in front of Lamar Winston. And Lamar Winston sniffs it out from the beginning and gets around Brandel to make that play. Really nice play by the outside linebacker.
After a loss of 8, 2 timeouts, it looks like they're leaving the offense out for the moment on the field. If they attempted a field goal, it would be in the neighborhood of 45 yards. It was a 40-yard miss earlier.
Timeout, Oregon State.
Really talented kid that established himself over the course of the spring. This staff's really excited about him.
Across midfield is Verdell. He's been the workhorse. 11 carries. In fact, the Ducks have run for over 140 yards in this first half, and the State Farm halftime show coming your way. Oregon State will be kicking off field goal from 45 as Tony Brooks James back to receive. Schuker's kick to start the second half, and he is kicking it deep. We'll see a return. And that's going special teams play at the 15-yard line. Key Wetzel with the play, and here comes Justin Herbert in the offense after a terrific hit on the return.
Yeah, nice job by the linebacker Key Wetzel shooting down the field and making a play, and they've done a nice job today on special teams helping out with starting field position both on defense and on offense for the Beavers.
And Tony Brooks James, who returned, is the player who is being checked on at the 20-yard line, the senior from Gainesville, Florida.
Yeah, Brooks James has been the backup for Royce Freeman, the incredible back that they had here for 4 years. Tony Brooks James backed him up in that system previously, and then to not playing quite as much running back in this system late in the year, but been a contributor on special teams as well.
Well, Justin Herbert over 100 yards, had the touchdown flip to the freshman Verdell, who has run for a couple of touchdowns. Travis Dye actually got the Ducks going in the initial drive. So 2 running backs over 70 yards rushing at the moment. And for Oregon State, Isaiah Hodgins, his brother, had a key sack over on the defensive side of the ball for the Beavs, but he has 4 catches in the game as Tony Brooks James heads over to the Oregon sideline after that tough hit on the return. Now, right before the first half ended, Tyler Shuck came in to take a few snaps, and now it's Braxton Burmeister, sophomore from La Jolla, California, at quarterback.
Yeah, Braxton Burmeister stepped in last year for Justin Herbert when he was injured. He was 1-4 as a starter, a 57% passer, 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Struggled for the most part last year as a starter in this system. getting some time here in the second half. We're not entirely clear on exactly why Justin Herbert is out of the game. Obviously at 21-3, this is not like this game is no longer in question, so it's a little surprising not to see him out there.
Braxton Burmeister hands off to Dye. Burmeister 4 of 8 passing this year, has played in 3 games. But interesting that we never got clarification on Dylan Mitchell, why he was not out there much in the opening quarter, although suited up. The star receiver, and now Herbert is out of the game as 2 different quarterbacks have run the Ducks. Dye carrying across the 25-yard line, and good enough for a first down.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting at the end of that last half. They have Tyler Shuck come in, the true freshman, and take a couple snaps to take it into the locker room. And then Braxton Burmeister comes out here in the second half.
And Burmeister the shortest. You had Herbert at 6'6", and Tyler Shuck is 6'5", and then Burmeister just over 6 feet at 6'1". That's what he's officially listed. Dye carrying again just short of the 30-yard line.
And again, Braxton Burmeister 1-4 as a starter a year ago. Oftentimes people use that stat to show how valuable Justin Herbert's presence was. I felt last year that Braxton Burmeister just was not ready. I mean, obviously right now as a sophomore, as a true freshman last year, it didn't appear like he was ready to take on that load. So it'll be interesting to see how far he's come since the end of last season.
Tough run by Travis Dye, and that should be good enough for another first down. Pending the spot. Let's see where they put that. Well, they're going to mark him down short, nearing the 90-yard total mark on the ground for him. So he's at the 34-yard line, bringing up a 3rd and 1. You hear that chainsaw noise in the background, an effective sound they like to play here in Corvallis.
Yeah, if you ever forget it's 3rd down, they'll remind you.
Burmeister, the 3rd quarterback to play today for Oregon. On a 3rd down, into a crowd, it's Verdell, and it looks like he did not make it, although after the previous spot, yeah, they're going to say it's 4th down.
Yeah, Chris, I think one thing we can expect today too is with Braxton Burmeister in this game, only 8 pass attempts on the year coming into this game. I think we can expect Oregon State to load up on the run quite a bit and prove that Braxton Burmeister can beat him through the air. Something he struggled with quite a bit last year.
And they're going for it from their own 34.5-yard line. So 2 series that Justin Herbert has been out. Burmeister hands off straight ahead and plowing through to get the first down is Verdell. What a game, what a day he is having. A 3-touchdown game, an 8-yard run on 4th and short.
Yeah, on the 4th and short situation, does a nice job getting behind his pads. Offensive line obviously creating a nice little hole for him to poke through. But again, low man always wins, obviously, and hard runner, C.J. Verdell.
Well, the Ducks have run the ball on all 8 plays that Herbert has been out through 2 different quarterbacks. And they're going to run it again. To the 45 is Verdell. Now, Justin Herbert, who's a junior, we talked about it, and Mario Cristobal has a deal with his players, and they don't talk about going pro or decisions beyond what is the season ahead. And so when you listen to comments or quotes from Herbert, nothing's been decided, determined about his future for the NFL draft. But you just have to wonder in this situation, after playing all but a series in that first half, why he's not in there as Verdell carries up to midfield.
And this zone read package for the Oregon offense with Braxton Burmeister in the game. He's got good mobility. Probably a more willing runner at times, too, than Justin Herbert would be, given his injury history last year. So that zone read becomes a little more of a threat in holding that backside defensive end, and giving the look that Braxton Burmeister might keep the football.
On 3rd down and 2, Verdell, who's carried 15 times for 92 yards. Gets it again, and Verdell down the sideline inside the 20 of Oregon State. And over 100 yards rushing today on a 33-yard run.
Yeah, nice run again by C.J. Verdell, and Doug Dalmulo had a chance to make a tackle, and it's been tackling most of the year for this Oregon State defense. This staff thought they had made some gains, maybe took a step back against Stanford a couple weeks ago, and now it looks like C.J. Verdell might be banged up on that far sideline.
Yeah, he's in pain. That's the back end of that play, and now he's limping.
And again, his previous injuries, he had a neck issue and also took a shot to the ribs last week. This looks like it's a lower body issue.
See the medical staff trainer checking the lower right leg area of Verdell, who's only 5'9" and 200 pounds, but has had quite a day. 125 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, but hurting at the moment. Either team today, Verdell, new career high as he went over to the sideline injured. And straight ahead is Travis Dye. We mentioned that Justin Herbert is not in the game. He's not even over on the sideline for the Ducks. And we're deciphering information, nothing given officially, but he is apparently being checked for an injury. He's taken a golf cart somewhere, and in the second quarter, one of the sacks that he took seemed to have hurt his hand.
Yeah, this is the last hit that we recall him taking by Doug Dalmulo, the linebacker that comes through. There was some wincing by Herbert on the field after that play, and then he comes over to the sideline, and we haven't seen him since.
All running plays as Travis Dye is into the end zone for another Ducks touchdown. A 15-yard run on an 11-play drive, and they were all running plays as Tyler Shuck took over right before the end of the first half, and Braxton Burmeister at quarterback. The sophomore ran this series with Justin Herbert out. And Verdell carrying the load, and then Dye punching it in.
Yeah, once again, 2 Oregon State defenders there to make a play. And Dye is just able to put those pads down, avoid the arm tackles. And with Braxton Burmeister, it's clear what the recipe is for this Oregon offense. And it's going to be up to this Oregon State defense to get in there and make tackles at the line of scrimmage.
Adam Stack with the extra point. And on the ground, the freshman Travis Dye after Verdell set him up. 328 yards of total offense for the Ducks. They have run for over 220 yards. Champ Flemings, who had a 55-yard return on a kick in the first half, gets under this one. And after a bobble, he is slowed down and then smothered at the 20-yard line. Well, Sunday, great slate of NFL play. Seahawks take on Cam Newton and the Panthers. You'll see the Giants go up against Carson Wentz in the NFC East. The Chargers later in the day host Josh Rosen and the Cardinals. Fox and on the Fox Sports app. Check listings for the NFL game in your area. With Evan Moore, Chris Myers, our entire crew, good to be with you. Hope you're having a nice holiday weekend. Sean Mannion looking on. The Rams with their impressive 10-1 record after that terrific Monday night win over the Chiefs. The Oregon State quarterback who backs up Jared Goff looking on in attendance here. And the catch made across the 36-yard line.
Newton's pass complete to Trevon
Bradford calls in the 15-yarder as the rain is coming down.
Yeah, nice route by Trevon Bradford. And you said it, Chris, this precipitation is only going to make this more difficult here. They're coming down the hardest we've seen yet today. But a nice throw in the elements from Jake Luton.
Jamar Jefferson, who has just 43 yards rushing on 14 carries. Sensational freshman and running back as Luton is throwing him open down the middle of the field. He hung it in the air for Bradford, or Bradford would have run in for a touchdown. Lenore on the coverage.
Yeah, Bradford runs the deep post route. You're watching Noah Tongiai push up, and 16, Nick Pickett jumps the in route, and it's a classic quarters beater on the post. Deep quarters coverage, the safety vacates, and a nice throw to Trevon Bradford down the field.
A pickup of 41 yards from the 23 of the Ducks for the end zone in the corner. And just out is Timmy Hernandez.
Well, the key on a go route like that is to always save some space on the sideline for the quarterback to throw the football. And Timmy Hernandez does that. Jake Luton just puts it a little too far outside his outside shoulder, and he tries to tap those feet. It looked close at first.
He might have that.
Might want to take a closer look at that if you're Jonathan Smith.
Yeah, and I think the officials.
On the field is an incomplete pass. The previous play is now under replay review.
Yeah, this one could be overturned. He got that foot down. It looked like he clearly had the ball. Now, you can see the rain. We've seen a little bit of everything weather-wise here, but watch with us.
It's really close. I mean, you got it right there. He possesses the ball. And is that foot on the ground? Now it is.
And the other one's not out.
It's still not out. It's above the white there. There's a little movement there before he hits the ground, though. So the question is it completely secured by the receiver while that left foot is still in the end zone on the ground?
The official looked around to see if anybody could help him out.
My concern, Chris, is right here. There's a little more movement right there as he goes to the ground. The other angle, I think, gave us a better look. There's just a tad bit of movement. If there's any question there at all, like we said earlier, they'll defer to the call on the field. This is the angle here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to rule that a touchdown because one foot is there. He has possession, and there's not enough of a bobble. He controls it.
After review, the receiver had possession of the ball. His left foot was down. Touchdown.
And raining cheers.
Quite the drive by Jake Luton on that deep post route by Trevon Bradford, then setting up that throw to Timmy Hernandez in the corner. And just like we figured, right, when the rain gets the worst, we start to see him air it out a little bit to some of match.
Oregon State is capable. And the Ducks, you pointed out that they have not been good on the road, especially in conference play.
Yeah, they've had their road issues. 1-3 on the road in conference play. And we've seen Braxton Burmeister on this last drive. It was a 10-play drive. They ran it every single time. And in this weather, and given Braxton Burmeister coming into this game at only 8 attempts through the air, expect to see Oregon continue to pound the football. It's going to be up to Oregon State to get guys up at the line of scrimmage and tackle more effectively than they have today. They've missed a lot of tackles at the line of scrimmage, chances for no gain that have turned into big gains for Oregon's offense on the ground.
And C.J. Verdell has come back in. And a mix-up. Burmeister keeps the football and gets up across the 35-yard line. And should be good enough for a first down. An 11-yard run.
Yeah, it's his own read. Look, this thing kind of takes care of itself. Without the pistol, the defender's right there. Key Wetzel to make the play. Braxton Burmeister ends up keeping it. Stumbling for a good game.
Longest run of the brief career of Braxton Burmeister. So Tony Brooks-James is out. We saw him hobbling. Verdell carries. He already has a career best in this game, his 5th 100-yard rushing game. And Justin Herbert, no official word, although we showed you the hit of the second quarter, the injury, not in uniform.
Hey, Chris, once again, we haven't seen Dylan Mitchell yet either over the last couple drives. Not sure what his status is, but I've yet to see him. I don't even think I've seen him yet in the second half.
He was out. He has one catch. He's been targeted a few times. This is Verdell. Down around the 42-yard line.
We're having a lot of fun today tracking this Oregon roster, huh?
Well, and we've already had 5 different quarterbacks.
It's just a lot of changes, yeah.
It's hard in this game.
And information obviously is not always all that available from some of these schools prefer to keep it pretty tight, and not always easiest to get the information so we can pass it on to you guys.
Verdell over 130 yards now at the 7-minute mark of the third quarter. Braxton Burmeister, sophomore from La Jolla, California. Pass is incomplete. It was a high throw in the rain for Johnny Johnson.
Well, to get Braxton Burmeister comfortable, they're going to let him get a throw. It was just on the tunnel screen to the right. But that thing was sniffed out by the Oregon State defense. Even if he had caught that ball, there wasn't really anywhere for Johnny Johnson to go. And now this Oregon State sideline has energy. When this defense plays its best, when their offense is making plays too, they feed off that energy.
Saw Mario Cristobal, the head coach with Burmeister. That was his first throw of the day, only his 9th pass attempt this year. Blake Maimon ready to punt, and Trevon Bradford is back.
One on the outside. Tries to run a little hook route, a curl route with Isaiah Hodgins, and sails it a bit. I think he was kind of falling back on his back foot there as he let that ball go. Kind of sailed on him a bit.
The rain has let up for the moment. Newton's throw to the 27-yard line. Hodgins hit right away. It'll bring up 3rd down. Need to get to the 30 for a first down. Again, updating, no official word on Justin Herbert, who has not played since late in the 2nd quarter. Whatever the injury, taking a couple of tough sacks, he has been unable to play as Burmeister has led the Ducks in the 2nd half at quarterback. Beavers need 3 protection, and the throw catch made and tackled right away is Timmy Hernandez by Lenore at the 34-yard line. A 7-yard pickup. Lenore 3 interceptions in the last 6 games. Hoping for the Ducks to grab one in this game to cool off the hot-handed Luton, who's over 200 yards passing. Creativity, Luton fakes and has. Trying to go to Hernandez, and there's a flag. And another flag. Lenore and him were dancing down the sideline together.
Pass interference. Defense number 15. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
So the call on Diamador Lenore.
Yeah, there's some hand fighting there. And from up here, it looked like Timmy Hernandez has slowed down a little bit, almost like he didn't expect Jake Luton to throw it out there. And I think Diamador Lenore was actually kind of surprised that ball had been thrown to him. Looked back late, but at that time the flag had already been thrown. It didn't look like either guy expected the ball to come out that deep. And Oregon State was able to take advantage of the penalty.
All the way up to the 49. Case Rogers is in, and running back creativity back to Luton, and the ball is fumbled, and Oregon's on it. It's Lenore. He may have knocked the ball loose. We'll see who came up with the recovery for the Ducks.
Rolling on the field is a series of backward passes recovered by Oregon. First down, Oregon.
So Gus Cumberlander, the 6'7" juniors who wound up recovering the fumbled football.
Yeah, he also made a timely fumble recovery last week to seal the win against ASU. But on that play right there, you know, you get the idea. It's a rivalry game. You want to see some trick plays and catch the other team off guard. But in the elements right now, with the rain coming down like it is, there's a lot of ball handling that has to take place way behind the line of scrimmage. It was clear that Oregon had penetration there. You'd like to see him just tuck the ball and take the loss. Not too sure about the play call there on Jonathan Smith's part. Just got to be more careful in those situations.
A loss of 26 yards, especially, Evan, when you know that the other team does not have their starting quarterback, in this case the Ducks. You've worked your way back in. You have momentum at home. You've already blown opportunities down at the goal line. When Coletto threw the pick, you missed a field goal, you missed an extra point. Self-inflicted wounds, and again, the Ducks there to take advantage.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think you got matchups on the outside with these receivers. Like you said, you started to get momentum. I think it's just trying a little too hard there to get creative, and there's a lot of ball handling that takes place in the rain there. Ball comes out. And
the Oregon State defense has made a terrific adjustment, and it's worth going back because at the time, it just looked like a tough hit on the 6'6" junior quarterback, Justin Herbert.
Yeah, if you watch him here, he winces just a bit while laying there on the ground. Then he comes out. The last we heard was that he was street clothes on the sidelines. We don't expect to see him at all the rest of the day, and it's going to be on Braxton Burmeister to maintain this lead for the Ducks.
On 3rd down and 7, Burmeister has only attempted one throw. He's going to run it, and he's going to be close as he got near a first down. It looks, we'll check the spot here on 3rd. They went on 4th and short, and it is going to be 4th down again.
Yeah, I expect them to go for this. And if you look at Oregon State's defense, coming into this game and allowing about 272 yards a game, put them 125th out of 130 FBS teams. So obviously, a lot of issues stopping the run. It's just when I look at this Oregon offense now, obviously very, very one-dimensional. Even if you've had issues stopping the run, sell out on the run and make Braxton Burmeister throw the football.
3 tight ends in. Over 250 rushing yards as a team for the Ducks, and add to it, it's a C.J. Verdell touchdown. His 4th of the day. A 14-yard run.
And when Mario Cristobal got here, this is the brand of football that he envisioned playing with these guys up front. That interior with Shane Lemieux, Jake Hansen, Dallas Warmack, moving guys in obvious run situations and still able to get critical yards for a touchdown for C.J. Verdell.
Verdell, 145 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown. And again, in this series recently, the team that has won has scored 30 or more.
Yeah, and Chris, worth mentioning again, the interior of that offensive line. Those guards have been banged up at time this year. Shane Lemieux, Dallas Warmack. They move people from B-gap to B-gap. They allow them to run the football. So they go for 2 here.
Verdell is the back for Burmeister, and to throw. And the throw was weak, short. Looked like his arm was hit. Rivalry week continues tonight on Fox. Washington and Washington State. 8:30 Eastern time. That's, of course, the Apple Cup. And then tomorrow, one of the more anticipated games of the year. Michigan, Ohio State, 11 Eastern on Fox. You can watch anywhere in the Fox Sports app. Well, the Apple Cup, it's a series that Chris Peterson, since taking over for the Huskies, he hadn't lost. He's 4-0 head-to-head against Washington State. Mike Leach does not have a good record. As you look at some of the star players.
Yeah, it's a great matchup. I mean, Gardner Minshew's already put up numbers that reflect what a good NFL season would look like. But they've yet to see a defense like Washington this year. The best defense they've seen thus far has been the Cal defense, which gave them fits for the better part of that game. Now, Washington State was able to win that football game, but they'll see a UW team tomorrow that plays really, really good defense and has much better offense than Cal does. So it's going to be very interesting to see that matchup.
So Washington State's quarterback with the mustache, and then the strength and conditioning coach for the Ducks, famously with one of the best mustaches in all of sports. And of course, he makes sure that everybody stays back on the sideline, brought over by Mario Cristobal to be part of the Oregon program.
He thought he had the best stash in the Pac-12, but that honor was taken by Gardner Minshew this year.
One of them's updated. So a creative play that lost 26 yards and the football. The Ducks take it in. Fail on the 2-point conversion. And it's a 34-9 game. Champ Flemings hit. Stopped around the 20-yard line. And that's where the Oregon State Beavers will take over. Well, limited resources, trying to be creative, and it may have backfired on Jonathan Smith.
Yeah, I think, obviously hindsight being 2020, we're going to say he's going to look back at that one and he's going to kick himself for that one. But I think we need to go back to the fact that they have guys on the outside that can win. And Oregon is electing to play a lot of man-to-man coverage, single high safety in the middle of the field, not much help behind these corners. And these are matchups that I think these Oregon State receivers can win from time to time and push that ball down the field. They need to keep pushing that.
And catch at the 25 by Bradford. And Amadi right away. It's one thing, whether the catch has been made or not, the Oregon defensive backs are there quickly to make the tackle. And it's only a 4-yard gain.
Yeah, but you're right. Most of these are contested catches in man-to-man coverage. And you got to credit these receivers for Oregon State for doing that, going up and ripping the ball out of the air like Trevon Bradford just did.
Jamar Jefferson just has been unable, as Troy Dye makes sure he goes nowhere on his 15th carry. Never able really to get going against this defense. Now he looks like he's limping a bit. Facing a third down from the 25-yard line. He had Isaiah Hodgins open. Luton just threw it a little bit too high and out of bounds at his fourth down. Luton at 6-7. And what a positive attitude, too, from him. Grateful for his opportunity here. Hasn't decided what's next, but said he didn't regret the decisions he made, the different schools he went to, having to overcome that spine injury, the ankle injury this year. Grateful for the opportunity to play. Appropriate this Thanksgiving Day weekend. And it's going to roll inside the 20. Amani inside the 10. He's inside the 5, but he's brought down at the 2. So nothing tricky about that special teams play. Just good hustle after a good punt that rolled. And Chris Menges is the one who tracked him down. I mean, Amani's a guy who's capable of busting it.
Yeah, he's without question one of the more electric punt returners in the country. And sometimes that can get the best of you when you believe in your abilities a little too much. Running backwards like that ends up taking a big loss and pinning them deep in their own territory to start the drive.
All the way inside their own 5 after the punt rolled, and then Amani kind of ran back, and then the excellent special teams play.
You got to give Oregon State credit, too. Outside that missed field goal earlier in the game, they've done a nice job getting that hidden yardage on special teams, getting good starting field position on offense. Good coverage and pursuit on coverage teams.
Excuse me, Braxton Burmeister has played in just 3 games this year. Bowling Green, Portland State briefly against UCLA, and he hands off again. And for Dell, the workhorse. And I mentioned the UCLA game because that was one that Cristobal pointed out about a commitment. We're going to run the ball, run the ball. They had injuries on the offensive line, and they did in that game for some 200-plus yards. And that's where they are today, over 260 yards on the ground. They started out the season, and that brings up an interesting discussion, Evan, when you've got a quarterback like Justin Herbert, and then an offensive philosophy where you want to pound or run the ball. Dell carries.
Yeah, being a run-first team like they are. I always thought it was interesting watching them play earlier in the season because they didn't ask him to do a ton, especially in the drop-back game, but he was so efficient on play-action passes down the field and those explosive 20-plus yard plays down the field. But then again, that was a different part of their schedule, too. Obviously, they didn't have a very difficult non-conference schedule. When they hit the meat of their schedule, I think they've needed to rely on him a little bit more, but it just really hasn't been part of their identity.
Verdell is loose again. All the way up across the 44-yard line. Sean Wilson ran him out of bounds. I mean, he is not tiring at all on his 21st carry, and he picks up 33 yards.
Yeah, C.J. Verdell, more than willing to carry a heavy load they're asking him to carry today, especially in these situations with the rain and the young quarterback in the game.
Increasing their better bowl opportunities, and look at the rush yards in this game, and that says where has Jefferson been for Oregon State? We'll address that. Hasn't had much of an opportunity as Dye carries inside the 40.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Jamar Jefferson obviously not having a great day, and some of that comes from the fact that they're down. They've had to throw the ball quite a bit more, but you got to credit the Oregon defense as well. Last week against Arizona State, only allowing 142 yards rushing. That was one of the better days for them on the entire season. Prior to that, Utah had rushed for 226, and Arizona ran for 276 a little bit earlier in the year. So it's a run defense that's been a little bit up and down. Much better today against the Beavers.
On 3rd and 4, obviously Oregon State, they know the Ducks are running it, and yet they still can't do anything about it. It's Dye. This time they do. Andre Hughes-Murray making the play. Well, when Mario Cristobal said he came in as head coach, we want to build it to last, talking about the program here in Oregon. I guess, you know, from the inside out with that offensive line, you have a star quarterback that now you don't have, and we'll try and stay on top of that. But wanted to put the people in place in this offensive line as Blake Mamone is ready to boot it away. Has done its job today. Pressure coming. This is a short kick. And goes out of bounds inside the 20-yard line. 2 wins for first-year head coach Jonathan Smith. And in this rivalry on the short end of this one is Luton sets to throw. On the move for a slide on the 24-yard line. Well, we came in talking about Jefferson, the freshman sensation for Oregon State, and the Ducks made sure that he has not run wild.
Yeah, he's had an unbelievable year. 700-yard games and 2 4-touchdown games. And you see right there his season average, 120 yards a game. Only 43 today. Now, some of that's a function of the way the game has gone. They found themselves in quite a hole and have had to throw the football quite a bit more than they would normally do. But he's had an outstanding year for them.
Luton on the run, and that goes out of bounds, incomplete. Pressure by Drayton Carlberg, junior from De La Salle High School in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Well, if you're Jonathan Smith, you're preaching hope. He knew that he has to get players in, develop the program as best he can, but he said the coaches have kept it positive by telling the players the truth and what lies ahead and what they have to do to turn things around.
Yeah, I think sometimes, too, as a head coach, you know it takes a step back before you take multiple steps forward down the road. And this one, it's still really difficult for these coaches to endure this. They spend so much time. Nice throw over the middle of the field to Hodgins. They spend so much time building this over the course of the offseason and game planning for each and every game. And to continue to see the same result obviously is incredibly frustrating. But there's been moments throughout the year that have given them that hope. And we talked about the Colorado win earlier. I mean, this team, there was no one on this roster that had won a road game like that in conference. And for them to go there and do that against Colorado, he said, look, it gave our team a ton of hope. It confirmed a lot of our habits and what we were doing. We're starting to see a glimmer of what could be down the road for this program.
Luton converting on that 14-yard pass play. And that goes over the head of the area of where Bradford was. Facing now a 2nd and 10. Just over 11 and a half minutes to go. Well, I love that they tried a lot of different things, from a drop kick to a player lying. In fact, we have to show people that if they missed it at some point, because now I guess you can't do that, or at least the NCAA has said where a player lies down disguised in the end zone on a kickoff. But
they're saying that's basically him saying he's hurt. You can't lay on the ground. But the other side, too, Chris, of this Oregon State Beaver team is we have not seen this team ever quit on Jonathan Smith this year. I was a part of a 1-11 team in college, and this sport, when you're not consistently winning, it's a really difficult thing to endure on a weekly basis. And these guys, this roster, this coaching staff has embraced these guys. And Jonathan Smith says, look, we don't see guys show up to practice each week and not want to do what we're telling them to do. These guys are still very receptive, and they still play really hard. I never have an issue with the effort. And that's going to be a key component as he continues to build this thing, is keeping these guys bought in through the difficult times.
And you're in a conference with some outstanding coaches, players, programs, and even in this state, pressure coming. Luton has to get rid of it, and it's picked off. Thomas Graham. And touchdown, Oregon. Third takeaway in this game for the Ducks. And quick producing points.
Looked like it might have been tipped by someone up at the line of scrimmage for Oregon. Oh no, he just leaves it behind him. Thomas Graham steps in front of it. 2nd interception of the year, 1st pick 6 of the season. Building on a strong performance.
Just under 11 minutes to play here in the 4th quarter of the 122nd Civil War. And knocked down. Here comes a flag spinning around the 21-yard line. Is Chant Flemings. Check on the penalty here. Going against Oregon State.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Return team, number 86. Half the distance to the goal. 1st down.
So this is that play I was mentioned that they roll out trick plays. This was against Washington State with Oregon. The kick returner camouflaged in the end zone, lying down.
See him up there at the top. There you go.
Okay, yeah. Wearing the same color as the turf there. He's a smaller player too, but he gets up. They throw him the ball. and he goes for 55 yards. They, of course, tried a drop kick on a kickoff.
Now, the officials have since says that that play was technically illegal, given that he was laying on the ground. That would indicate that he was injured. And so they told him, you can crouch down, but you cannot lay on the ground. We've seen that play before in college football, though. I was surprised to hear that they had been told that play was illegal, because we've seen that so many times in college football.
Well, it's going to extremes when you dress up to hide out and return a kickoff. That's what it's been like for Oregon State. Jefferson goes nowhere. And Sampson New making the tackle for the Ducks. Ducks lead the league in the most creative, colorful uniforms. And talk about first-year head coaches in the Pac-12.
Yeah, Mario Cristobal, obviously here last year, was promoted from being the run game coordinator, offensive line coach. But I think the biggest surprise there this year has been Herm Edwards. It's been an outstanding job for him. Picked last in the South. And as of last week, was actually in position to put themselves in the Pac-12 title game. Now, they were unsuccessful in doing that. Went up to Autzen Stadium, got beat by Oregon. But he surpassed a lot of expectations. You know, a lot of when he was hired, it was referred to as an experiment. But, you know, I don't necessarily understand that. I mean, the guy's a football coach, and he's done a really good job for Arizona State. But these two guys as well, I think the future's bright with Jonathan Smith. You know, record aside this year, he's done a lot of really good things in college football. Obviously, was the play caller at the University of Washington back in 2016 when they went to the CFP playoff against Alabama.
Luton avoiding a sack as Troy Dye was in on him. Well, and had Chip Kelly, by the way, of course, Oregon fans know and remember what he did for UCLA. His first year, but beating USC made a quick impression there for Bruins back there.
Yeah, he's come on late, which is good, because I think his roster was more talented, and I still think it's more talented than 3-8. I think it's a year that it could have been even better than what we saw from them, even though they came on late. And then for Mario Cristobal, a chance, you know, with 7 wins last year, they'll eclipse that today with 8 and a chance to get to 9 at their bowl game as he continues to build things here. Because look, this program, Chris, has been a beacon of stability. Oregon has. I mean, they've had 3 head coaches in the last 3 years, so this is uncharted water for them in the post-Chip.
The 40, and Evan, this was the hit in the second quarter.
Yeah, we talked about that hit earlier from linebacker Doug Tamulo. That was really all we could pull away. You see the wincing laying on the ground, then he comes over to the sideline, was tended to by a couple trainers, and the head coach came over to ask him if he was okay. We haven't seen any of them since, and then you see those pictures of him on the sideline in street clothes. You certainly hope he's okay. They'll have a nice break before their bowl game. So I hope it's not serious.
Travis down to the end zone. It's another Duck score. And Oregon pouring it on now, a 39-yard touchdown run. And over 360 rushing yards for this Oregon team.
Oh, when they run behind those pulling guards and tackles, right there, Shane Lemieux coming around. They are so good, and no one even gets their hands on Travis, except right there at the line of scrimmage, and everybody else, he goes untouched all the way to the end zone.
Yeah, it's almost like a wave goodbye. The hand that got on Travis, Oregon State, about to win for the 9th time in the last 10 meetings of this Civil War in-state rivalry. 5 rushing touchdowns for the Ducks. Flemings with a chance to return and steps back. Let's see.
Chris, we mentioned, you know, Mario Cristobal in his first year as head coach here, and the stability this program has had. You know, prior to 2016, they had been really a beacon of stability. I mean, they had gone, you know, the previous 3 decades before the last decade, they'd only had 2 head coaches. And over the last decade, they've had 3 head coaches, which is very different than what this program is used to. Now, Mario Cristobal coming in, we can't forget, he's still in the process of building kind of his vision here for the Oregon Ducks. After the Mark Helfrich era, then the Roy Taggart era, now the Mario Cristobal era. Got another interception here by Thomas Graham.
His second of the game and the 4th takeaway. Jim Leavitt's defense under Cristobal. And Luton suffering the interception. And now this one's off the rails for Oregon State.
Yeah, it turned out to be a really frustrating day for Jake Luton, as Thomas Graham breaks on that football and wrestles it away from Timmy Hernandez. as the Oregon offense takes the field. And Chris, that's been one of the most interesting things about the Justin Herbert era. As good as he's been, we're talking about 3 head coaches over his first 3 years.
And 3 different offensive
Absolutely,
coordinators.
3 different systems as well. And you talk about stunting the development of a young player that's been able to push through a lot of that and put together the career that he's had so far here at Oregon. There's a lot of quarterbacks that would not make it through that kind of turnover, both mentally and just surviving different staffs that try to maybe change the way you do things or change the system that you operate in. And so for him to do this, it has just made it that much more impressive, his run at Oregon.
Well, Cristobal, as we look at Braxton Burmeister run the offense here, talking about, high on Justin Herbert, calling him a relentless competitor and a guy who understands protections, but he said he likes his mechanics, his high release. There were some things written and talked about, and obviously an extra year in school. Yeah. But as a junior, he'll have a decision to make.
I think one of the comparisons you can make is, if I make a comparison to baseball, you find guys that have a really good fastball command. They're a fastball pitcher. And I would say that's what Justin Herbert is, as he continues to find that changeup and find that slider and find those touch and, downfield throws where he'll get a little more trajectory on the ball and drop it in. We don't see quite as much from him on that, but that's something that will continue to develop over the course of his career.
Watching as he turned 21 years of age in March, a touchdown pass in 27 straight games. That's the longest current streak in college football. And the ball's loose. Burmeister's on it. And he's when you look at Oregon's history of notable quarterbacks, let's go all the way back to Norm Van Brocklin, the Hall of Famer. Dan Fouts, also in the Hall of Fame, and Marcus Mariota, who second overall pick, eventually got his team to the playoffs and won a playoff game on the road. And the challenge that lies ahead for a chance to make millions and star in the NFL. Now, it's interesting, the coaching staff, and you can be an introvert and have success in the NFL. Joe Montana or even Jared Goff more recently, and that's kind of how they have described Justin Herbert as. And sometimes as a leader of an offense, you have to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, well, I think, there's 2 types of leaders, those that lead by example and those that lead verbally. And I think ideally you'd like your quarterback to kind of have both of those qualities. But Justin Herbert falls more on the side of leading by example, which, look, is completely fine. And if you're evaluating him as a potential NFL quarterback, it's really all the physical attributes that you look for, the strong arm, the mobility, all those things. Yes, the leadership, from what we gather, especially the verbal side of it, probably could come on a little bit more. But also you look at over the course of his career, his body of work. His freshman year, he only played about half the year. He missed a lot of time last year. And now he's been able to stay healthy all of this year. So, the way I look at it, he's still improving. He's still building into the NFL quarterback that I think one day he's eventually going to be.
Yeah, and talking, his brother, there's a tweet. His brother's going to be part of the Oregon program, as we saw the completion to Ryan Bay and then Travis Dye carrying. But this was Patrick Herbert. So sent out earlier in the year. Hope Eugene isn't tired of the Herberts yet. I'll be around for a few more years, and with family on hand, staying a part of the Oregon Ducks, a 4-star recruit. Of course, Justin Herbert went to Sheldon High School. He grew up going to these Civil War games, none here in Corvallis as a fan until he started playing, but that's part of who he is and his background. Die into the crowd.
Well, he needs to see if he can get his brother to stick around for another year.
I don't know, millions of dollars versus playing with your brother, those are decisions, and of course perfecting your craft, but depends what's out there and what kind of competition in the...
Well, here's another thing, too. He's got 27 career starts, and if you look back over the last decade, all the Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, if you go back and study that, the average amount of starts for each of those guys is 34 career starts. So still on the low end from the experience standpoint.
A chance for a score again, and this time the Beavers clamped down. Well, it's funny, Mitchell Trubisky, who was drafted by the Bears previously second overall, only had 13 starts in college at North Carolina.
That's pulling the out. Well, again,
but he has a team in first place.
Side, defense, number 9, in the neutral zone at the snap. Half the distance to the goal. Replay, 3rd down.
And the experience part aside, if you ask Mario Cristobal about his assessment of where Justin Herbert is today, he's quick to tell you, hey, he's a very, very impressive 20-year-old kid. He said, experience aside, he's still just 20 years old. I think we all had sky-high expectations for him this year. He's had a very good year. I think sometimes people get out of hand forgetting that this is a 20-year-old kid that's still coming into his own.
After the penalty, Ducks a little bit closer, and we've got a whistle and a timeout now.
Timeout, Oregon. Their first charge timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
All right, let's good time for a game break and check in again with Greg Wolf. Greg?
Chris, thanks. Later over on Fox, it's the Apple Cup. Gardner Minshew and Washington State look like they're ready to go shirts versus skins against Washington despite the 40-degree weather. Winner gets Utah next Friday on Fox in the Pac-12 Championship. Number 16, Washington. Number 8, Washington State. 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific on Fox. Chris, Evan, back to you.
Look forward to that. Washington has won the last 5 of these head-to-head meetings.
Yeah, it kind of feels like this might be the one that Washington State is able to prevail. Obviously, Gardner Minshew having an outstanding year. But again, I don't think they've seen a defense like Washington yet. They struggled a little bit with Cal's defense, and Washington's defense is somewhat similar to that. Probably even better in the secondary. Obviously, the passing offense of Washington State is their strength, and I'm really anxious to see that matchup.
C.J. Verdell is in for his 5th touchdown today. 4 on the ground, 1 through the air.
What a day for C.J. Verdell. Now at 187 yards. We talked about him only needing 212 to reach 1,000 yards on the season. Probably end up short of that today. But 5 touchdowns in a rivalry game. This is a performance that he will never forget.
Nearing 500 total yards. But what's amazing, Oregon has run for a combined 380 yards. And without much threat of a throw here in the second half. What a game from C.J. Verdell. This by an Oregon player. You talk about total yards since 2012. And 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, total yards has been his thing, too. He came into this game with 788 yards, then 291 as a receiver. So he was well over 2,000 yards coming in, or excuse me, 1,000 yards coming into this game. He's been chasing that 1,000-yard rushing mark today. But a complete back for them. A young guy that has carried a really big load this year.
Well, it says a lot if the Ducks are dancing when your top receiver, Dylan Mitchell, can have 1 catch. Your star quarterback can play less than a half. You have a senior running back in Tony Brooks James who leaves injured, and you still have put up 55 points.
That's a great point. I got to believe Mario Cristobal, when he lost Justin Herbert and when he didn't have Dylan Mitchell on the field, like, again, we haven't seen him in the second half either. I got to believe he knew, hey, we can impose our will. With our guys up front, we can impose our will up front.
And Flemings, who last time had a chance to return, this time does. Straight ahead, diving toward the 24-yard line. Well, we talked about the Apple Cup and Washington State and the powers in the Pac-12. Evan, you watch this conference closely.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question Gardner Minshew is your offensive player of the year. He's got numbers that reflect a 16-game NFL season. Then Chase Hansen, part of a great linebacker duo at Utah, one of the best defensive players in the conference, has been very disruptive over the course of the year. And then Mike Leach, for them to be picked 5th in the North and to lose his defensive coordinator from a year ago, lose Luke Falk, and only find himself in this situation to potentially win the North and still have CFP implications. What a year for Mike Leach and the Washington State Cougars.
Yeah, he never loses his sense of humor or sarcasm. I like that. And that's what the Apple Cup between him and...
Never a dull moment with him.
And Chris Peterson. You couldn't have 2 more diverse personalities who obviously could win in different ways and do with their programs. And on your list, though, Evan, you know, Jamar Jefferson just couldn't get it going, averaging 3 yards a carry on 18, came in has had a terrific freshman season.
Incredible year, no question. He's got 200+ carries as well, so for him to carry that load also speaks to his durability as well.
Up across the 34 is Jefferson, and now you think about a bowl game. The Ducks saw a streak of 11 straight trips to the postseason end in 2016. And last year they went to the Las Vegas Bowl, losing to Boise State. That's when Cristobal coached after Willie Taggart left to go to Florida State. And so now they'll be eligible for a bowl game, whether it's the Alamo Bowl, the Sun Bowl.
They're still in play for the Holiday, too. They'll need some help on that, but the Red Box Bowl will play for that as well.
Which used to be Foster Farms.
Correct. Okay. San Francisco. Yeah, you know, there's 7 contracted bowl spots for the Pac-12. There's already 7 teams with 6 wins that are bowl eligible. And you've got a few others that could end up getting their 6th win this weekend. So this stuff will crystallize a little more once this weekend is over.
And much will be thought about. We didn't get a list of any announced professional scouts here from NFL teams for this game, but in the past few with Justin Herbert, there have been teams like the Giants and the Dolphins and the Broncos who had representatives here to watch Herbert in person.
False start, offense, number 51, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Yeah, that's all eyes will be on Justin Herbert as this bowl season comes up and this regular season comes to a close, on whether or not we'll see him in an Oregon uniform next year. Look, without question, has the ability to go on, be a top 10 pick, and be a franchise quarterback for a team. The question is, when does that happen? You know, does he feel like there's more development at this level, given a relatively small, I was to say limited, relative to other seniors, overall body of work? Is there improvement to be had? I think there is, especially given that he missed a good part of last season.
So if you're leaning one way from what you know at the moment, you're leaning towards Herbert stays at Oregon. If I'm pushing it.
Well, okay, so I'm talking about the merits of him potentially coming back, which I think there's plenty of upside to him doing that. Now, that being said, from a guy that had a chance to play in the league for 6 years, I certainly understand if you're in a position in this game, as crazy and dangerous as this game to be on that field, if you're in a position to be a top 10 pick, I will never fault him for moving on and taking advantage of that opportunity.
I appreciate you clarifying as that throw was caught at the 42-yard line. And that's Isaiah Hodgins, who's had a heck of a game. Well, and Herbert at least publicly said he hadn't thought 3 seconds about it. And, you know, has to talk to his parents eventually. And they have here, right, an NFL college advisory board that helps underclassmen deal with draft protection and help them with their decisions.
So what he'll do is he'll essentially apply to that, and then they'll give him feedback on kind of where his rating falls. Now, again, keep in mind, this is before a lot of the evaluation process. Now, one of the things to keep in mind with a guy like Justin Herbert is if he does elect to come out, say he gets feedback that says, hey, we think you're going to be a top 10 pick, and he elects to come out, I think his stock only goes up when he gets into the evaluation period, when he gets to the NFL Combine, and these scouts get a look at him, get a chance to talk to him in person, and see the physical size of this kid and his skill set in shorts and a T-shirt. When he gets out there at the NFL Combine, he's going to run well, he's going to show quickness, he's going to show a strong arm, and I think teams are going to be drooling over him. So whatever he's told by the NFL Advisory Council, I would add 5 or 10 draft spots to that, because that's only going to soar once he hits the evaluation phase with the NFL Combine.
As Luton throws from midfield and not much open there. And he is, when you talk about Herbert, a Davey O'Brien semifinalist for that award given to the top quarterback. As you hear, and I've heard, you know, again, we're a long way from the draft, and we're doing a college football game that's winding down here, but projections for different quarterbacks that may or may not go pro. We've got West Virginia. Right?
Yeah, Will Grier, he's had an outstanding year as well. Obviously, one of the other great quarterbacks in college football is Kyler Murray, but we all know that he's already signed a contract with the Oakland A's, and that looks to be his future. I think Gardner Minshew in the Pac-12 actually becomes an intriguing pro prospect as well. It's not something that anybody was talking about a year ago, but what he's done in that offense goes beyond just the advantages of Mike Leach's system. And he's shown good accuracy, good mobility, and the ability to have that confidence to lead a team. And I think he's going to find himself as a draftable prospect as well. Now, not nearly as high as the potential of, say, a Justin Herbert, but I think he's going to find himself in the mix as well out of the Pac-12.
And this will be the first time that Oregon has won back-to-back games against Oregon State, as that catch is made for a touchdown. Timmy Hernandez from Jake Luton. I tell you, Luton has shown the ability to throw the ball all over the place today, despite a couple of interceptions.
Yeah, drops this in nicely. Timmy Hernandez does a nice job of coming down with that ball and getting that foot in bounds. Barely. Wow, that's the second close one we've seen from Timmy Hernandez today. Working those feet along the sideline to stay in bounds for the touchdown.
Hernandez with his second touchdown catch, a 31-yard throw from Luton at his as he nears the 300-yard passing mark. Closer to 290. His second touchdown is another and a missed extra point. This is just botched by Oregon State. And the snap was not very good. But Hernandez on the receiving end. The running game for Oregon was outstanding from the start, whether it was Dye or Verdell, each with 187 yards on the ground.
Yeah, just a huge day for the Oregon running game, especially when the quarterback change was made and Braxton Burmeister came into the game. It became really clear what the strategy was for Oregon's offense, to pound the football with C.J. Verdell and Travis Dye. And boy, have they been successful at doing that. Getting through the line of scrimmage and showing the breakaway speed as well. Both kids have had excellent days on the ground and have set the tone for the entire second half.
Now look at that. For the first time in school history where two players have had over 180 rush yards, and those are two freshmen. This may be the beginning of something big.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say, especially if they can get their quarterback next year, that backfield for the Oregon Ducks, there's a lot of reason to be optimistic for next year.
And that offensive line, when healthy and intact, the cohesiveness of working together, led by, as you've talked about, Calvin Throckmorton, and they, Penei Sewell, right, the left tackle,
he's a left tackle,
best in the country when he's back healthy.
Yeah, they think he's a future top 10 pick, left tackle, and he was potentially going to be available in emergency situations today. They just think he needs the full 6 weeks to recover, but he could be available for a bowl. Outstanding year as a true freshman at left tackle.
Well, another high point moment in this Civil War series for the Ducks. Back-to-back 30 or more, 30-point win or more against Oregon State. First time that's happened going back to 1898 and 99. The last two Civil War meetings score total: Oregon 124, Oregon State 25. It's been that lopsided.
Well, you know, Chris, as the saying goes, it doesn't matter what the records are. It feels so good to beat your rival when you know that the season, the build-up to play one another at the end of the year, especially the pride and the bragging rights are on the line. And these are games that these guys will remember. C.J. Verdell will remember his performance in the Civil War in 2018 for a long, long time.
And the Ducks will think big after an 8-4 season and more yards on the ground. Over 380 rush yards when you combine who's ever carried the football.
Remember them all. I was a part of the Stanford-Cal rivalry, and I remember vividly back in 2004, we were down by several touchdowns. Jeff Tedford elected to run a sweep pass with Marshawn Lynch for a touchdown to kind of maybe give it that exclamation point. That's something that I don't think anybody in my class at Stanford ever forgot. It's the parts of these rivalry games that are so special.
Travis Dye. And that could hit the 200-yard rushing mark. He was